One, customer service, judging at this time. So why, first question is why do judges actually need to give customer service skills? It's actually a good living example of good behavior. So being a judge is also have a customer service role, mixed with a little bit of diplomacy. Attitude is like an advertisement for behaviors that you actually want to see in future event. We also rely on each other for existence in Magic. Uh, Players rely on you to run tournaments smoothly, and we also rely on players to build a community as well. So relate back to the previous topic that we had on community building. So everybody is there for a reason. We try to build for existence for each other. Players are always and are also still customers. So players all play Magic for different motivation. Uh, but there are also players, there's also customers who go to the LGS to purchase things and maybe to talk about community building and etc. And on top of that, players are also not the only customers in store. We do about customer service. So the first one is actually to listen. So active listening goes a long way. So to show that you're actually actively listening, it will be a good way to actually repeat their concern to show that you understand what they are saying, and then try to empathize on the solution of what they do. So just show some genuine concern, just show some little thoughts about the situation they're in, and try to see whether you can put yourself into their shoes. If you have anything that is wrong, a simple sorry would actually be a good way to diffuse the situation. And a sorry goes a long way. Sometimes this just a sorry will actually just diffuse the whole situation. Ultimately, we are here to solve people's problem. If we don't, we'll go back to square one. So people will come back and ask you uh, what's this happening and how do you get this done. And then after everything, always good to thank them so that you make players feel welcome and give them something working to return. So the players for bringing the matter up, or simple one, just thank them for even bringing the matter up so that you have their attention. So a simple way to actually approach doing a judge call. So some of the do's and don'ts. So first thing we have to do is we separate players. So how they separate players? We just go there. If they are actually having a heated debates, the first thing is to separate them so that at least once you break them up, uh, they will not talk with each other. Usually when they talk, sometimes things will get back. They might talk louder and louder over each other, and nobody will pay attention. So in order to do that, the best way is to first separate the players. Um, so one of the things when you do a judge call is when people raise up their hands and they call judge, judge. Do take note. Move with haste, but don't run. Uh, just acknowledge that the player. You can just do go about raising your hands in the air to show that you are aware of them. Just walk with haste, walk fast, but try not to run in case there might be some obstacles as well. So just take note of the surroundings when you approach a judge call. Do make eye contact with them, but not in the WWE. So basically, what we can do is we can try to get ourselves lowered down to them, uh, eye level, or we can just bend down a little bit so that we can try to get eye contact with them, and then we try to answer their calls. So, uh, I would say sometimes the non-verbal communications actually make a long way, so that we actually get them in a very good way for judge call. And then after that, try to explain your rulings that you did. Our own ultimately being a good customer service is actually explain, educate, so that the players understand why they're being penalized, and in future they understand this. Try to make the ruling in a way that is is the results you give is not personal. So try not to apologize when you give a ruling that is related. So like for example, don't just go say sorry, but you are given a game loss. So just educate them on why they're being penalized and why they are actually doing that. So it's more like the action, something like the action that you did resulted in this error. It's making you getting a game loss, for example. So also do consult with the store owner, the TO, when there is some customer service issue, right? Sometimes two heads are always better than one. Uh, Sometimes a quick discussion with the PO can also be a quick service recovery. Maybe because of some prices involved. Sometimes maybe if there is a error in the booster pack given, we can ask the store nicely or the TO nicely. Maybe they can also do a one-for-one replacement. So these are the things that we can actually consult when there's somebody like the store owner there in terms of customer service issues. These are some ways we can interact. So another example of this is if the store owner or the TO actually knows the player better than you, you are not a regular regular judge in the store. The store owner might have a better experience or better more information of the player than you. So sometimes it's always good to consult as well. So on things that we don't do, like we should not do when we have to do a vote for judge call. Firstly, we try our best not to look for. So we are here to judge the game and not be judged by people. So sometimes if you yawn, try to walk away, and then it really reflects badly on the judge and also the tournament organizer. So do ask the team leads if you need a break to refresh yourself or somebody to cover to stand in for a short while, or if you are the only judge, at least let the TO know. At least you can just quickly go for a quick washroom break to refresh freshen up yourself. Also, secondly, try not to be too overconfident. Uh, Anything that can go wrong will definitely go wrong sometimes. So if you have anything, do just check with another judge if you're unsure about a ruling. Mistakes do happen. Sometimes giving the wrong rulings is not will also be backfire. So that's why it would be good if you're not that confident, always just tell the players that you need to double check, and then once you check, and you can just get back to them with the answer. Sometimes giving it's always better to double check sometimes. Also try not to talk like a robot. Try to speak with a little bit of enthusiasm. Try to avoid your voice a little, and then also try to answer the question without giving strategy advice, but inject some level of empathy to the conversation as well. And then we should never interrupt another judge call because this is actually quite disrespectful. So just always take note that the rulings that you give that's not related to you. So above all, don't feel bad if you make any mistakes during when doing a project dashboard. Everybody learns from all this, and then we try our best to improve along the way. Life, there's a saying there's always a lifelong learning, so we always learn along the way. So what if this is your first tournament ever? So question is, you definitely encounter new tournament players, maybe be this player just graduated from the Friday Night Magic, or even playing at the Friday Night Magic, or moving on to the next competitive events. So how you should do as for in terms of customer service to make them feel better, to make everybody feel better. So first, always smile and always be positive, not the creepy like they said smile. So especially for newer players, they are usually when there's a judge call, they feel that they have some errors in the game, and they are always very scared to be there. So always sometimes just give us a good smile, be positive, uh, and then try to give them a little bit of way to tell them that you are here to actually judge the game, and you are here to actually enjoy the experience as well. and then spare them all the time they need, but don't take too much time. So the more attention that they get, the more peaceful and more positive their reaction will be to your rulings as well. And then try to answer every question. I would say there's no such thing as a silly question. So anything that can be asked, just try to answer as much to the extent. And then if they feel that that's anything, always stay back to the game and then try to explain to them after the game because sometimes they're new and if you are worried that you share some strategic information after the events, after the game, just put that aside and then you can explain to them in detail. The reason to do that is actually that the game is still in playing, so probably you don't want to take out the time. So it'd be always good to let the game finish and then let the match finish and then put the player to the side and then you can explain to them the situation, why do you give the ruling in such a way, and if the player has anything to ask, feedback, you can also do that during that time. So far, if there is any questions on this so far, anybody? How could I not? Some questions are coming in. I saw a question this time. Oh, yes. How could I not do feel bad when I make a mistake? Everybody will make mistakes. So even if you look at the MTR, where player plays making a mistake, yes, for sure we learn from mistakes. So if you actually make one, always learn from that. So for my personal experience, I also gave wrong ruling before earlier. Uh, so I'll try my best to actually explain the situation, and then I would not overbrood and think too much after the event. Just treat it as a learning experience. Say sorry to the player, explain why you actually gave that ruling in such a way. So you just explain and let the player know. So for definitely the player will actually feel very bad, or they might even be very salty, and then they'll actually explain and they'll tell you and they'll go wrong. I'm not sure about Thailand, but in Singapore, players will always be salty and then they will complain. Everybody they say that hey, this judge actually made a mistake. So in order for that not to happen, just explain why you actually gave that ruling in the first place, back it up with some actions on why you actually did that, and then I explain to them that the correct procedure on how to actually get that right. Okay, next few questions. Okay, feedback. People get confused. Okay. Yes, Shani. Healthy words spread very, very quickly. In Singapore, we do have such situations pretty often. So when we have one such incident, things spread. Like the whole community knows about this. Especially, yeah, this is definitely not easy, and we try our best to do as much as we can in terms of customer service. So next, moving on, we go to part two on how to deal with difficult players. So some basics on how to do customer service on difficult players. So just start with the list. So listen, empathize, apologize, solve that problem, and also thanking them. So we try to apply that to this to do customer service on dealing with difficult players. So during you have difficult players who try to make things difficult, try your best to stick to the policy documents like IPG, MTR, and then if they are actually absolutely sore about it, do also let them refer to the documents to see that hey, I'm giving you a game loss because this is IPG says so. If really you get if you can't talk your way through, just show them the policy documents. always try to diffuse the situation if things get tense. So as I mentioned earlier, if you actually do a smile, you have a very nice smile, show them to them. That will actually definitely help in getting a little bit of diffusal as well. Ultimately, always remain calm, speak confidently, and don't shout. Try your best to separate the players if you need to. That's like I mentioned earlier. Yeah. Yes, Sugar. The documents are here to protect us so that nobody will hunt us down. Yes. So getting back, yes, we try to diffuse the situation as much as we can. We try our best to get things done in a way. So try to be calm, separate the players if we need, and then we try to explain to them calm and confidently, but try our best not to shout. We try our best not to cover each other's voice over it. And then ultimately, if uh, there is a head judge in the vicinity, uh, get them involved as well. So always give the players also when after you give a ruling, give them a chance to appeal. Uh, then you find yourself reacting negatively, call for another judge to help you as well. So this way, at least the players can also be there to help. So some of the common player types. So just now, student did share. So student did share like this, the different types of players. Uh, Over here, we also have different players based on the common types of people. So let me just show. So I'll start with the first one, the insensitive commenter. So the player who doesn't think twice before saying anything. So can you believe how gay this like extortionately is? It really raped me the last game. So sometimes dealing with people, especially I'm not sure about Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia, we don't have that much versus the US and the EU. Like I think recently with the judge chat, somebody was talking about the Pokemon community. Somebody actually just got into some accidents for giving some what's it they I forgot what's the word, yeah, but they actually got in some trouble on that. So always try to think twice before you talk to. But yeah, I'm just sharing at least here right now. I'm just sharing the different type of players, the different type of different players that you will see. So if you see this type of player, always try to educate them first. So let them understand why is it bad on committing things like that. Uh, everybody in has a different tolerance level, so you will not know how tolerant they are in certain behavior, and even a very small impact, like maybe that sentence might not mean anything to you, but it might mean a lot to certain players. So always try your best to think through before you do that. So if you want to deal with this stuff, people always try to explain the situation to them, and then from here we actually try to get them involved and let them know that this is actually not good. And then we have the shady dude. The shady dude where weird things happen whenever they're around. So this type of things like players have players with their hands under the table, dropping cards on the floor, etc. We have an incident in Singapore where there is a player who will always cast. It was one of my first few tournaments. It was a sealed event, so it was Terros Limited. This player always plays with his hands under the table, and then always on turn three he'll cast this heroic creature. Like what was the name of the creature? It's a white creature, 3 mana 2/2 double strike, and you cast a heroic spell. It gets +1/+1 something. So he always has that on turn three, and he always has a God's Willing in his hand to protect that creature. So it went we didn't notice it at first in the first few tournaments, and then we started seeing that the player has been looking around, wandering, his eyes wandering all around the table. And then we noticed that his hands is under the table and he always has things. So after that, we actually found out that he actually hit some card. Oh, yes, thank you. Yes, it's very good. So he actually hit the card under his leg, which is when I put it down, he put it under the legs. So he actually managed to swap the card. He managed to swap the card around and then cast the creature. Yeah, so that was one of the incidents that we found. So, however, we will never accuse the player until you are very confident in your investigation. So we try to address the player by their name, and if they're tactful enough, we give them some indication that it's actually being watched. So so another type of player, the player who always chats non-stop. So basically, oh, how long have you been playing? How long has it's so long since I've been judges. How can I be a judge? I'll classify them as the very friendly player who is always there talking about this. And we have a few living examples in Singapore. I don't want to mention names, but we do have a few of these players everywhere in shops. And then try to be as friendly as possible, as much as you can. Try to listen, provide a listening ear. But then, of course, you still have to keep focus on the task, which is actually you are judging the event. So when you're judging an event, you try to actually pay more attention to them. So, but then at least there's simple acknowledge that you can to say that you actually listen, pay some attention to them, and then if need be, try to politely interrupt them to say that so sorry, I understand, but I need to be attending to the judge game right now. So just tell them that yeah, you're actually working, and then hopefully that you actually shut up. And then if you have other players nearby, you can also just hopefully you can pass the conversation to another person as well, which is nearby, and also help if there's other judges who nearby, we can actually just signal to them, and hopefully they can save you out of the situation. So find an opportunity to escape, and then and also the complainer. So like we have the salty person, and also if they lost the game, and then they'll go around also complaining to people. These are the things who always complains about every little thing and not being constructive. So it can be why so long? Why the pairing so long? We've been waiting for so long. How come the event is like that? Why the payout so little? Why the entry fee so expensive? Everything in the world they can find, they probably can complain. So same thing. We try to address that concern, and we try for that student, because ultimately we try to diffuse as much as we can. We understand where he is coming from, and then also give them offer a chance to the person to get them to explain why he finds it expensive, for example, or he finds it pay off that, and then just give them a chance to explain or give some suggestions on how to improve. Sometimes I acknowledge just by a simple acknowledgement of the feedback goes a long way as well. And then do point out what's the ultimate this yes, sure, sounds like every player I know. Yeah, so don't give them a chance to point out this satisfaction, and then from there you offer them opportunity to talk about it. And then we move on also to some of the smartest. So the player who also they don't do any harm, but then they always have issues on the. So for example, we do extra card. So I guess it's a game loss, right? Yeah, okay, let's go with for the score. So yeah. And then so sometimes actually people listen to this and they play actually skips the card and before you can actually give the official ruling from the judge. So sometimes hopefully the smart S is correct. But sometimes in some situations, if the player might not know the ruling that well, that can backfire. Yes, yes. Means why if you want choose to win. Yeah, that's actually exactly what it is. So we try our best to get things sorted. So we try our best to disarm him in a way that we compliment the person that he's actually good in his knowledge. Before we tell them he's actually wrong in his rulings, if he actually gave a wrong ruling, and and then we remind him gently that only a judge could issue rulings and penalties, and if the anything else, that will be a head judge has the final say in the tournament. Yes, so ultimately, just also tell the player that the rulings that you give is correct or wrong. Yeah. So the next difficult player that we have is the not so incredible Hawk. So basically, I actually removed the video. So actually, there is a video previously. So it was a person flipping the table when you play halfway through and you feel that the event the player is actually giving some issues and then he actually flips the table. Yes, was the yeah. So ultimately, you want to deal with this type of players. Always keep calm. Uh, Angry versus angry will never work out well. So position yourself with confidence and answer him with a firm tone. Try to keep your voice as calm as possible and be polite. Uh, be firm but politely. So step in and ask why you need to step away from the player to from the table to calm yourself down. Offer this in a helpful tone, like for example, are you okay? Do you need a moment to stay away? I can give you extra time. These are some of the examples that you can use to diffuse the situation. And then try to address his behavior and how it affects others. So, for example, I need you to be calm. You're actually making people feel uncomfortable around you. You can see nearby all the players are actually looking at you right now. If you need anything, don't be afraid. I can ask you. I can help you. And if things get well, we can also tell them to leave the venue if need be. If things all gets physical, try to stay calm and diffuse the situation as much as you can. Uh, Always protect others and also yourself because ultimately we are still human beings. We also don't want ourselves to get involved into some physical fights. So address the safety of the players and the people around you. So just a quick recap. Uh, the least method, listen, empathize, apologize, solve, and say thank you to the player. So this is a simple way to for quick uh, customer service. Try to be positive in every situation that you handle. To handle every situation tactfully while being mindful of the current situation. And then always service with a smile. Yes, this is actually the simplest body language that you can have impact on any agitated player. Later sometimes outside assistance and then players become things pretty broken. Yes, this is like something I agree with. Yes, so ultimately, smiling actually works very well. It's one of the simplest body language, and then you have good positive effects on any agitated player. From there, if things don't work out well, get more help. We try to tend to any of the situation as much as we can. Yeah, and then we move on to the feedback loop. So ultimately for doing our customer service, we also wants to receive feedback as much as we can. So why are feedbacks important for judges? Ultimately, most importantly, it helps us improve. Getting positive or negative feedback is important. Construction criticism is definitely very important. We actually it can actually help difficult and newer judges bring up some of this, and then be it the giver or the receiver, it will actually help people grow. So same thing. This is also one of the reasons why we always ask people to fill out feedbacks after conferences. We also ask people to give feedback immediately. Previously, when we do events in GPs, Z will actually have tokens. We have to splash feedback cards that we can actually give people on spot. So this is something that we do previously. So feedback is also very important because it actually strengthens trust between the players and players. So it actually allows way to be more harmonious, I would say. It also helps us to bring up the positive culture. So it's always a good two-way communication between people and players. And then also this is actually a way to be a mature culture, open up to everybody, and it will definitely be positive, beneficial for the community as well. I personally feel that it actually motivates the receiver once I receive. So I hope that I have plenty of feedback as well. I can both good and bad feedback because this is something that I'll be talking to me as well. Previously, I received feedback from people that I actually speak too fast. So this time around, I'm trying to speak a little bit slower because I try to pack content, too much content in that 1 hour. So and it's often speak too fast. So this is something that I learned as well. So I try my best to speak a little bit slower so that at least for people who actually who's not his first language is probably not English to also be able to understand as well. So this is from my personal experience. So even the simplest feedback could be to make a judge of the day. So it also reinforces positive behavior. So a simple thank you or some good job will also be a very good feedback as well. So giving feedback is also very, very important leadership trait. So especially you as a senior judge giving feedback to the newer judges based on the experience that you have. This is also one good way to be to move up the leadership channel, so that giving and receiving feedback can also have some conflicts to discuss, and that also be like you can bring out certain examples, explain to the players, to the newer judges on why this is a thing, and you can also open up for discussion as well. And then moving on, the different types of feedbacks. We have over here we have 4 types of feedback. So we have the appreciative feedback. So appreciative feedback is someone approaching you and then giving you compliments for doing something positive or something or thank you for your service. So for example, well done on the deck checks today. And then we have something like the critical feedback. A critical feedback is like potential gaps or deficiency in areas that the giver has noticed that you have something that is improving. So he'll tell you that so this is actually a critical feedback. So for example, you need to stop ready. You need to do certain stuff, for example. And then we have the coaching feedback as well. So it guides the receiver and in terms of how to do things better. So feedback that touches more on guidance and how tools to help receiving judge achieve their goals. And then we also have emotional feedback. Emotional feedback, for example, is the small ability. These are open and direct feedback on someone's action that is incredible intrinsic value, but may or may not be related to judging. So these are examples. Yeah, looking at the comments from Chonglang and Brighton. Yeah, if things get escalated well and we can inform the TO, hopefully he also knows how to de-escalate the situation, because ultimately the TO knows their player base well enough, and these are the people who always come to the store. Yeah, so this also one of the ways to de-escalate. And then what Python says as well, you can involve the security with this as one. And then move on to accepting different types of feedback and how we actually phrase your feedback. So we have the feedback sandwich over at your right. So basically, before you give a feedback, always try to make it into a burger or a sandwich. So give something positive, followed by something negative, and then something positive again to close off the loop. So like for example, for example, you can say like things like, hey, you have been doing well in this particular aspect. So you have been doing well in this particular aspect. However, you need improvement in this. Overall, you have been doing well in this. So this is how you can structure your giving feedback. Yeah. So the receiver may potentially feel lost or feel dismissed if you don't if you give them directly a negative feedback. Thus, one of the reasons why we always prefer to give a feedback sandwich in a way we give a positive and followed by a negative and then a positive one. This is something that we feel that will work best in a way that if you give a negative feedback immediately, they might be potentially feel lost and be dismissed. So this is why we feel that we should do this. So ultimately ensure your feedback offers a path forward, like giving some measurable goals, like subject identity that what are things that you feel that you can improve, share resources with the person that you're giving feedback, like where they can refer back to this, like for example, some articles or some books or things that even some online classes, like maybe for example, anger management or things like that. So for them to continue giving them a chance to grow. So some people might not be receptive to listening, or they might take things too harshly due to outside influence. Maybe for that they have been it has been a rough day for the person. So these are some ways that will actually help to tone things down. And then for coaching feedback, sometimes it can feel cold and indifferent. Uh, it might uh, im- uh, it might impact somebody's mood negatively, especially going through a long day. And then so ultimately, why we recommend using the feedback sandwich in a way, because we give them a positive kickoff, followed by a coaching session, and then closing off with good encouragements for the particular person that is receiving the feedback. Especially if the feedback is especially particularly harsh, don't deliver it in front of other judges. Try to pull the judges aside to a corner or to somewhere else. Maybe you have some time to talk to me. Maybe you can go somewhere else and then we can discuss the situation away from the playing tables or even away from other judges if necessary. Consider waiting to the end of the day so that their work performance is also not affected. So ultimately, at the end of the day, if they have time, just sit them down in the corner and have a one-to-one private discussion with them and how to get things done. Things can get done better. So how do we give a good feedback? So we can use this very simple way to go about it. We can use this three acronym CAT, because the reason why we chose CAT is because everybody loves cats, the mother of cats. We have a lot of people who love cats. So C stands for clear and specific with examples. A is actionable insights. B is tactful and never a personal negative attack. So, for example, clear and specific with examples. So, for example, you have inquired before resourceful, like how you manage to make you player stand using table as chess. So these are ways to be clear and specific. And then actionable insights, nice job making the pairing board easier to read. Keep it up. And then tactful, for example, no offense. I think that you need to adjust your tone and be friendlier when giving rulings. So these are some examples. Most importantly is have open discussion with your receiver, as certain circumstances may not be privy to you. They may also change the results on your initial assessment of the person. Okay, so same thing, back to the burger. So this is one example of feedback. So if you are giving the right time feedback, so this is how we actually do it. So this is from day one. This is the first way. So basically, you give them a good actionable insights on how you run this. So basically, this is what you expect and how you focus on shadowing and observing players, and then clear specific examples like how you move the pairing board at a certain time, interview rounds, etc. And then ways to actually not be non-personal impactful. So talk to judges on the floor, stay professional. Yeah, so this is one example. And then moving on, simple closing thoughts that we have. So that's what a review is at the end of the day. It's an investment in someone else's success and continued growth. And then ultimately, it's also the investment to the judge program, and we are here to help everybody. I am done with the presentation. Any Q&A, any questions anybody has have anything to share, any questions from the presentation? Feel free to type in the chat. Feel free to do that. I can at least look at the chat and explain as well. If there is no questions, I'm done. So thank you everybody. Thanks for listening to this, and thank you for all the feedback and the chats given in the throughout this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Neo.
Thank you.
All right. If anyone has any questions,